I hope this works. Hey, hoping it works. Hi. Okay, I'm just turn off the fan in a second. Okay. I don't even know if this is on or streaming, so bear with me. But I wanted to come on and talk about a couple things that I feel are, I've had people messaging me and saying, what on earth is going on? And I'm like, welcome, so welcome. This is probably, so many people are saying, oh, this is just awful. And I'm like, in a funny way, it's the best time. And I'm going to talk about why things are getting exposed and what we would need to be looking at, because I think so many people are missing. What are we missing? We're missing the events that are happening, right? Through having emotions rather than having a sense of what is going on in the world. And I think we really need to look. And by the way, that's why I said Hong Kong, George Floyd, there are so many things going on. So what I want to do is talk about all that in this talk. And I have a lot of notes here. And I'm going to talk about energetic patterns as well. Bill Jones, good to see you. I know, because he said, hey, because you came up in blue. Hi, I want to say hi. Oh, Sandra, good to see you. I know people have been messaging me, and I'm finally starting to feel a little better. And I'm just really kind of working on, this is a better pair of glasses for me. I'm finally working on my my new website and my new channel. So there's a lot going on. Anyway, well, okay. So here's what's going on. Here's what I am picking up. And it's really funny because I think I would be remiss if I didn't go back a little bit in time. And I know there'll be people coming in later and stuff like that, but I want to back up a little bit and start with the idea of, some of you know I've been a card reader. I create cards. I'm kind of less woo and more you, and my thing is really about, people who've gone through traumatic childhoods and things that I've experienced, so that I can support them in their process. And part of this thing and part of my use of cards is really about finding our own solutions and healing. Okay, so that said, that's not really a commercial. That's kind of my background. And one of the things that I noticed is that when my first deck came out, I wasn't really around much. I mean, it just became hugely successful, and I'm very grateful. And then my most recent deck came out, and I recognized between that deck and this deck, the world has changed. And, and I'm going to go into some of the ideas of what I'm going to talk about tonight. And I really want to, cover the idea of what we're all going through. Okay. And I mean, there's just the zaniness of everything. So as I give you that background, I want you to just drop your shoulders and breathe. I just want you to know, I do believe that there is a plan, and I do believe that we are seeing things that are unfolding in a way that we are going to need to be very conscious of, okay? So that said, when my second deck came out, now my first deck was very people talk about, and this isn't a commercial for my work at all, but in fact, I have the Spanish version here. But anyway, the first deck was very multicultural before it was popular. It was like there's everybody in it, right? My second deck was drawn by a woman in the Ukraine who literally was, it was during the, about 10 years ago now, during the whole time when Russia and Crimea, all that stuff that was going on over there, right? And we weren't really as conscious of it. It was I think it was like in the second term of, the Obama presidency. I was going to say pregnancy. This is how crazy I am. And that deck became a fantasy deck, and it became much more about the energy of, she used 5 or 6 people and morphed them throughout the deck because she wasn't going anywhere, right? So when that deck came out, it was a very interesting time in America. It became, and I want to say this was and I'm now bringing up to speed, right? Coming up to the present, more of the present. I want to say this was around 2016 when, and 2017, when being politically correct was the most important thing. You know, culturally, misappropriation was happening. Do you remember that? Where, you know, and so many things were going on. And I got people saying to me, oh, these are just white people in this deck. And it was like, you know, I worked 10 years on this deck. You know, it's kind of this, why are you saying that to me? And so I got very gun shy about speaking up and saying things. And also during that time, really coming up to and including the Watts case. And all of my energy went into that. And so part of it for me, and I've always been very much, and I think most of you are, you tell me if you're not, but I think you are. Most of us are really, I want to say, avengers of right and wrong. You know, when something's wrong, it's wrong. And when something's right, it's right. And I think that what's happened is, and I'm seeing this more and more in the people I'm working with, it's kind of like they're almost afraid to say what they really feel. And I feel like, you know, I'm noticing that I just moved away from a certain culture of people because I'm like, I don't want to be shut down. I want to say what I really think. I want to hear what you think, if that makes sense. I don't want it to be like, I don't know if you guys can hear me. Let me make sure. Okay. Okay. Hey, Margot. Good to see you. So it's the, I just saw, so I looked up, I shouldn't put the glasses on, right? Because I saw Sandra say politically correct. Oh, autocorrect. That's what I meant. Okay, Regina. So I want to just kind of say hi to a few people. Crystal, good to see you. Oh, did you make a little video with the cards? I got to look at it. Okay, cool. Let me see. Oh, thank you, Catherine. Catherine said, I can't wait to hear your thoughts. Scott, good to see you. And if you're new, like shout out. I want to know who you are so I can say, hey, hey, hey. Okay. Karen, good to see you. I don't have much filter when I'm talking. Oh, hello. Welcome to my world. So here's what's going on. Okay. Let's talk about, I will go look, and it's Crystal Silverheart, just so y'all know. She said she did a video on my cards, and put your name of your channel so we know where it is. I think it's that. Blue Flame, wow. Wow, I feel like old home week, Lacey. Woo, good to meet you. Glad you're here. I love that name, Bodine, cool. All right, so a couple things that I am gonna cover this. I wrote down a bunch of stuff. Let me just pull out my notes, because you know, I get these hits. You need to have notes. It's like, well, what if I have notes and I don't follow them? You know? All right. So let's go to the first thing that is really happening is we are exposing, and what I want to say to you is what's being exposed. I'm taking this off so I don't read the chat for a minute. What's being exposed is everything that has been hidden from us for a long time. And you know, I had somebody say to me, well, you know, you're very political. And I said, you know what? I'm tired of not saying what I think. And, you know, sometimes I'm going to be like, oh, that person's right and they're Democrat. And oh, I think that person's right and they're Republican. See, I think that right is right. Like when someone speaks truth. And one of the things that we are seeing is that, I'm sorry, but there is tons of material that is giving you crap out there. And I just have gotten to a point where let's back up to where we are. We are really, and some of us are still in, I won't say exile. Some of us are still in, and I also want to say hibernation. It is a hibernation. You know, we have to remember that COVID-19, I've started calling it the CCP virus because there is a lot of things that are coming out from that particular situation. And I'm going to look up and say hi to people in a minute, but there's a lot of things that are coming out of that. So let's begin with, it's almost like that episode years ago of a show called Dallas. I don't know if you remember it, but like, I think Bobby got killed off, and then Pam we were all devastated because we love Bobby and Pam. And then the first episode, the new season, is she's going in to take a shower and he's in the shower, and she realizes that the whole last season where he died was a dream. And I kind of feel like we are, in some ways, we're so focused on what's going on, we forget to step back and get the bigger picture, right? I know somebody said, I remember Dallas. I think it's Bill. You know, when we step back and get the bigger picture of everything, think about this. How many of you wrote out affirmations or New Year's resolutions or ideas of what you wanted in the future? Well, what I want to tell you is that everything you wrote down, it wasn't on your vision board. None of this. And as I say this to you, let's talk about there are some very different things going on, and I'm going to be politically incorrect here. The first thing I want to say, it's when we look at Hong Kong and when we look at Xi Jinping or whatever, okay, the ruler, the communist leader of China, I'm going to go right into some of the things that have actually come out, all right? And these are some things, by the way, if you want to find out what's really going on, watch China in Focus. It is like one of the only shows, okay, that you will, like, I'm not kidding when I say this, that they will show you, and it's more like a Taiwanese backer, and they are like peaceful people, you know, and they will show you the truth about what's going on in Beijing and China and all of the things that were working behind the scenes. So a couple things I'm going to tell you right up front that I have learned from that. And I may have my dates off by a day or two. From October, now this is 2019, from October 10th approximately through the 14th, there was a ton of cell phone activity around the lab in Wuhan. There was a ton of it. There was all sorts of things. People were coming and going and coming and going. Then there was a week of nothing, almost from the 14th through the 17th of October. And this is stuff they picked up on different satellites, right? They found no activity in Wuhan during that time. Then right after, around the 21st to, I want to say the 28th, there was a ton of activity. Now, I may have my dates off by a little bit, but it was like the beginning, then there's nothing, then there's more. And what happened, what China in Focus was talking about, Tiffany Meyer is the girl's name, and she's great. She's the, how do you say, anchor. Anyway, she was talking about the idea that what was happening there at that time. Now, you know, look, what we can say is if that was going on, right? And it's kind of this massive thing that we're looking at, that here is a communist country, right? And they, by the way, they have actually said it, and it is, you know, if you watch some of these videos, you will hear it said that one person said, the Chinese ruler said, well, our entire goal is to destroy America. We want to take down the evil America. You see, but you know what? I got to be honest with you. As Americans, sometimes, and I know some of you are in other countries. I can't see right now, but I'm going to go thank somebody in a minute. You know, in America, all right, sometimes we are just so naive and so trusting. And we just think that the rest of the world, okay, we can just peace and love them. Well, guess what? I mean, you guys know I'm like woo-woo, right? I don't think it's all peace and love. I think there are times in our life we have to be warriors, okay? And when we looked at World War II, we were warriors. And, you know, there are people that believe we destroyed Korea and we've gone into other countries, right? Here's the thing that I want to say about this. Xi Jinping, oh, I said his name right, is the communist, I'm going to use this word, murderer of China. These people disappear, they get tortured, they're pulled out of wherever they're people were locked in their homes with no food, and they died in their homes. I mean, this is the kind of stuff, you know, this is the kind of stuff that was going on in, I mean, you know, really in China during, we started to see it, if you remember, at the time of the videos coming in with Wuhan. Now, it's, okay. Outbreak activity started October 7th. Thank you, Humanimals. She's right. And I want to say this. Yeah, it was that activity. Now, here's the interesting thing about that. And some of you know this, some of you may not. They knew, China knew, Xi Jinping knew, and he hid it. And why did he hide it? Well, I'm going to tell you a couple things that energetically I'm feeling. These are opinions, and then I'll tell you some facts too, because it's mixing in here. Okay. Think about it this way. If you know a virus has gotten out and it is going to pull down your economy, which it will, right? What will you do if you are a communist leader whose entire goal is to destroy America? Well, you're going to do a couple things. Number one, you're not going to tell them. Number two, I don't know if you know this about the guy, this is a fact, the guy who runs WHO, I feel like WHO, World Health Organization, WHO, it's like, Anyway, the point is he runs it, but he's obviously in the bag with China and he's being called on it. Now, let's go back just a little bit because I also have this thing about, there's a lot going on here, so bear with me. I'm going to try and stay on track because if I look at the chat, I won't. I just want to say thank you to Scott, and I really appreciate the super chat. I really do, and it's just because I think this is going to be. I think this is also. I think I'm going to be just. I think I'm probably going to. I might be banned after this one. I don't know, but here's the thing. Xi Jinping knew that this was going to be detrimental to his country. So he contained it in Wuhan. However, he did not want to destroy Chinese New Year. So instead of letting all of the people in Wuhan were contained there, right? What happened was, check this out. He shut down all of the flights out of Wuhan after the outbreak. We're now into like the time of Chinese New Year, right? So we're coming into that time, Christmas and even into New Year. But I want to say more into the time, he shut down all the flights out of Wuhan to other parts of China, but he opened up international travel. So he allowed the people from Wuhan who were potentially infected to fly to Europe and to fly through Europe into the States. Now, and I've said this before, we all know why New York got hit more, because they have 3 international airports right there, right? And we see how much it is in Queens and Long Island, and it's right there. So that's the first thing I want to say. Now, put a bookmark in that, because we now know that, and by the way, China was buying up all the PPE equipment. They were buying it from us. They were buying it everywhere. And we're going, nothing, because we didn't think about it. And there's one other piece I want to say, because somebody made a comment to me about, well, we had these reserves, we because Obama had asked for them, fair, right? Remember I said, fair is fair. Obama had asked for money in 2010 to build up the short, like the PPE equipment. But think about what was happening in 2010. So bear with me. 2010, we had just passed Obamacare for almost $1 trillion. We had also had the entire market was falling. People were, their mortgages, they were losing their homes. Things were really caving in on themselves. Now, bear with me, because I want to make this a little interactive in a moment. Why do you think in 2010, anybody who had just spent all that money would ever be thinking about, oh yeah, let's get PPE equipment? We'd never seen anything like this. 1918 is not in our lifetime. We had no clue. So I was saying this to somebody, yeah, there might have been an attempt to buy something. There may even be a handbook, all right, for what to do in a pandemic. But I'm going to tell you something. Think about what was going on in 2008 versus, or even 2010 versus now. Do you know, like, how many times OSHA, that's our, that in America, that's kind of our, I want to say the people that say what we can do and what we should have for safety, right? Do you know how many times they updated their handbook since 2010? Do you know how many things have changed since then? So what I want to say to you is that there is no way we could have, and I don't just mean we America, I mean other countries, okay? There's no way anyone had enough reserve at any time to buy all of that stuff and then keep it, because I'm gonna tell you something else. If we had it for 10 years, it would be worthless anyway. What do you think happens to paper products sitting, right, in storage for 10 years? I don't know about you, but when I pull out old newspapers, sometimes there's like bugs in them. So I want to say that some of it may have still been good, but technology has moved so much in 10 years. That said, when people are talking about, and I just want to jump in here and say, okay, let's see. I've heard there's going to be vending machines for PPE. That's probably true. Okay. I'm glad James Page said real PPE required special 3M charcoal canisters that only last 30 to 40 minutes and cost 75 each. I'm glad you said that, James, because really, I'm going to, you guys are going to be like, and what's his name? Fauci said it. You know, it's kind of like a virtue signaling, really. I'm going to wear a mask just so you know I'm aware of the virus, because really our masks are doing very little. But let's see. I feel so badly for all the children. Which children, Margot? Today? Oh, that's what the military uses. You know something, James, you're bringing up. My dad was given, that was one of the things he was issued, a gas mask on D-Day when he jumped. And he said, we all threw it away. And I'm like, why'd you throw them away? He said, Tori, we were behind enemy lines. The Germans were not going to gas us because they gassed themselves. And I was like, oh, I don't know if that's entirely true, Papa, but that's good thinking. Anyway, the point is that what's going on now, and when we look at the children of now, and that's going to be a different thing. You know, kids are very resilient. You know, they're not looking at this the way we are, okay? And that said, that's a different conversation. And I'm going to be honest with you. I think we need, instead of microing and looking at every little detail, because we're so focused on this, we're missing the bigger picture. So let's all pull out the lens a little and look at what's going on in a big way. Now, remember I told you I'm going to be equal opportunity, like, okay. So I was kind of like, really, with Trump and the Twitter stuff, I was like, well, okay, whatever, you know, because I do believe there's a lot of, if those platforms are really censoring in ways they shouldn't, you know, I don't think you get to pick and choose, which is what everybody does. YouTube does it, everybody else. That said, do you want me to talk about, and I'm going to say this, okay, you guys have to know, I want to talk about the murder of George Floyd. Can I talk about that? Okay, let me just check in with all of you. I know. I just want to check in with people. Yeah, disruption in life. Okay, good to know. I want to say, yeah, hey, Carolyn. I want to say hi to a few people. James, I'm glad you're here. I don't know if anybody here for a first time. I kind of want to say hi to you. And bang, bang, kiss, kiss, woo! How you doing? Yeah, I'm feeling a lot better. Some of you know I was slammed with COVID. And I didn't want to talk about it too much. And what happens also with it, when this is just my experience, is that not only did I have trouble breathing, you guys saw me in one of those videos, I also was kind of like, my brain was more of a fog than it is now. So if you can imagine that. Just want to say hi to a couple people. Anybody new? Anybody want to say hi? Oh, Caroline, I'm spoiling myself. I got junk everywhere. I'm cleaning everything out. The problem is where I cleaned it, it's all sitting in my living room. Okay, so let's talk. So George Floyd, all right. Karen, good to see you. I know, sweetie. Okay. All right. I think we need to back up a little bit. Okay, let's back up, if you will. Yeah, Chris Cuomo too. Okay, I'm going to say some things, and I want you to bear with me. And I know I've been saying this through the whole thing so far, but I really want to be very clear with you that there is some stuff going on that I think if I don't, you know, somebody said to me, you need to not say what you're saying. And I'm like, huh? Like, she said, well, you need to say it different. And I'm like, but if I say it different, I wouldn't be me. So here's how I'm going to say it. I want you to remember the law of threes, right? Do you remember the law of threes? And when I was writing for television, I was writing screenplays. My old writing partner was a woman named Carrie Bickley. She's a fantastic writer. She's a great lady. She did Gun and Betty Lou's Handbag. There were a lot of movies she wrote. And one day I was like, we were working on a scene, and I was like hitting this joke in the scene, right? And she said, you know, Tori, there's the rule of three. And I said, what do you mean the rule of three? See, she said, you really can't say something more than 3 times without letting the audience in on the joke. That's one rule. She said, and because she gave a couple rules of 3. And one of the other ones was, don't say something more than 3 times or it's a bore. And then there's the spiritual law of 3. Remember that? It always happens in threes. So while everybody is, and this is something that I'm just going to point out to people, everybody's like, Trump is so crude, he's so rude, he's so awful, but they're behaving just like him to complain about him. Okay. And here's the thing. I won't put eloquent in his on his resume. Okay. So here's the thing. You're old, Tina, but good to see you. Ah, yes. The media and Gayle King seem to be pushing a race agenda. The FBI is propping up Reverend Jesse Jackson, who's a well-known troll. Here's what, okay, I'm going to go right into that for a minute. Here's the thing I want to say to you about the tragedy of George Floyd. This is, okay, hi, Gavin. Gavin's like, I got to sit with you because people are going to hate you when you say that. Okay, I know. Let's begin with what Joe Biden said. I think it was to Cedric. I think it was Cedric a week and a half ago, because I'm going to come up to the police brutality. So hold on. And the whole idea of a race war. Joe Biden said, to the effect, I'm just going to give you the idea of, if you have to decide between me and Trump, you ain't black. Well, the thing about that statement, and again, I want to be honest, this could be like Joe Smith. It doesn't matter who said it. It's the fact that he's someone that is going to get that attention, right? So when he said that, I know Gavin's like, he's like, please pay attention to me, not her. Okay. So when he said that, the community, right? And everybody kind of gets polarized, right? So the left goes, he didn't mean it, and the right goes, he meant it. And then there are people who kind of go, black folks who went, who's he to tell me how to think? And I was like, oh, and I'm always more interested, if I'm going to be honest with all of you, I'm always more interested to hear those kinds of comments from someone who's black, because they are the ones who are being spoken about, right? So it was very interesting because I heard different things, but one of the things that really comes forward to me in this is that this boy is such a comfort, is that when he said that, there was a very, very deep thing there that I think a lot of people missed. And I want to really share this with you. And I may I always get I lose people after I do a live. I'm like, oh, here we go again. But when he said that, there was a deep implication of the old guard of the way systemic racism has been running in the background the whole time. All right. So what we're really looking at here is, and it's like, oh, he was joking. And then he said, oh, I shouldn't have been I forget what he said, huckster or whatever. But the thing is that, but there was truth to it. You see, there is a feeling from some people that they own what the black vote is going to be. Okay. And that's just, we look at it that way, and then we spread it out and we go, wait a second, it's deeper than that, because you see, this is the old idea that it's like, I'm going to take care of you, Mr. and Mrs. Minority. I'm going to take care of you, and you better do for me. And there's this unwritten threat. Are you with me on the threat? Now, as I say that to you, this is what the entire, bear with me, this is what, if you think about it, and I don't know, because I'm not black, I am, obviously I'm not, but I can say that I'm starting to get, of the 3 incidents that happened in the last week, I'm starting to feel a definite sense of what it is like to be treated that way. And also, there was a wonderful article by a black guy. He's he's some, I think he's a designer or something. He's very successful. He lives in New York. And it was a really interesting piece he wrote saying he has no stress since our quarantine, whatever it is, stay at home. And he said, and he's talking to his therapist, and he wrote the article about, I have no stress. And she said, why? He said, because I don't have to deal with white people. And I thought, wow, that's really insightful. Like, I, as a white person, have not thought at all, right, about, and I have a little, and I've shared this with you, but like that daily implied threat that I'm saying we, right, and I'm saying the universal we, that we represent to our black communities. And I hadn't seen it until okay. Oh yeah, okay. We're going to talk about George Floyd, so hold on that one. It's so awful. I actually cried. I sat here and I bawled my eyes out. I have not cried like this in a long time. I don't want to do it right this second. Okay, so Catherine said politicians use people as pawns so often, but I can't think of any group used as pawns more than the Black community. Well, actually, what's happening, and I'm glad you said that, there is a very interesting mix that's going on right now, and I want you all to be aware of it. What happened since Trump got elected? Well, anyone is suspected of voting for him is a racist. They're xenophobic. They're all the names that those people were called, right? Well, what happens now? Where are we, right? We're in this, okay, we're not going to talk about George Floyd yet. I'll talk about it in a minute. We're in this kind of, because bear with me, I want to get there. We're in this kind of soup right now. After Biden said that, it almost, in my opinion, it almost emboldened, and I don't know how to say this without it sounding bad, it emboldened, like, okay, let's go to Central Park, kids. Remember the Bramble? I'm going to be like, the Bramble, the white liberal girl. And she was liberal because she had given like $1,000 to Obama's campaign. So we found that out after she'd been accused of being a conservative racist. So it's very interesting what was going on. So when we look at the abuse of the Black community and, people of color, but we're using that as a general, and forgive me for not doing it as eloquently as I'd like. But when we look at that, we can also look at the name calling from one section of the population to the other. So this split has now created, remember, like we talk about earthquakes, right? The plates go like this. It's already like this. So then Joe comes out and says, well, if you're not Black if you don't vote for me. Well, what he then did was he put his ownership on Black people. I mean, for me, it was the new systemic racism. I was watching it and I went, no, he didn't say that. I'm going, he really didn't say, what's that? Come again? I mean, I know Joe doesn't know where he is most of the time, but the truth is when he said that, I went, what? What? And the reason it was what? It wasn't so much about the, okay, let's see. What's OGT? I don't know what that means, Juan. Tell me. It could be oh God, Tory, or oh, that's terrible. Okay, yeah, okay. So here's the thing about Biden saying that. Everybody for years has said, well, Trump is inciting violence. But I'm going to tell you something. I don't think he incites violence, but I think, in a sense, people think that they have permission to behave however they want. And if they feel that they've been squelched, they're going to come out and, here's the problem. And bear with me, everybody. Here's the problem with the white virtue signaling. And hello, I'm white, so I can talk about my people. And I want to say, here's the problem I feel with the white virtue signaling. I'm telling you, I do not know what these dogs are doing. It's like crazy. Anyway, the problem with it is when we watched Amy Cooper in Central Park, do you remember that? She threatened the, don't worry about Joe Biden. Joe Biden is not going to live long because of what he has. I mean, he really looks like he's just ready to go. And he even said it. He said, well, when I pick the new president, because he knows his vice president is going to become the president. So here's the thing that you need to be aware of. What's happening is, after the Joe Biden speech, I was still ruminating on it for a few days. And I was thinking, wow, it's kind of like he's actually saying that he owns Black people. Like, that was really weird to me because I never hear that from the right. I hear the right getting pissed about things and saying what, not nice things. But that idea of ownership, and then we go back to the history, right? And I've been a registered Democrat my whole life, and then I'm in the middle and wherever I am. The point is that I'm for the truth, okay? So I don't really care as long as you tell the truth. Like if you say something that's true, oh, okay. You know, and if he says something, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, he did say that. Or if you make it up, I'm going to be like, no, he didn't say that. He said this. Because I'm very much a protector of the underdog. I don't like when people take advantage of people or make something up that they didn't say. So here's the thing. When we look at Joe Biden saying that, it had a very deep ripple. All right. And we also have to look at the idea of, now we take Amy Cooper. Isn't it funny? It's Amy Cooper and Christian Cooper. You know what I always say to you, and I'll say this because I've been teaching a mastery level, right? And I'm working with these fabulous people, small group. And I've been taking them through this stuff. And I said, well, listen, remember that it's never what you think it is. It's never what it looks like on the surface. So when we look at, and I always say to them, look at the coincidences. If you start to see patterns, okay, and by the way, everybody, it's energetic patterns that are out there. So the energetic pattern we're talking about, and I'm going to come back to George in a moment because I want to give him his time. When we look at the energetic pattern, Amy Cooper and Christian Cooper. Do you all know the story? You remember that? Do y'all? Chris Boston! Woo! Okay, let me just make sure that people know. Okay, got it. The bird. Okay, you do know. So I'll give you the short and long of it. Bramble in Central Park is a bird watching area. People really aren't supposed to bring their dogs there, but if they do, they must be on a leash. Amy Cooper brought her 2-year, she had adopted this Cocker Spaniel, 2 years old. She brought him in there, running around. And Christian Cooper is, he is a bird watcher. And he said to her, hey, put your dog on a leash because it scares the birds and you're not supposed to. Well, she got into this irate rage. And when I tell you, okay, I'm going to be really upfront when I say this, and those of you know, that is white chick rage, okay? Because some of you everybody talks about this kind of anger for this race or that's white rage. When we get into a rage, we say the dumbest and do the most mean things, okay? It's like Mean Girls, right? We come out. We're like the meanest ever. Hold on, I want to see what, let's see. Let's see. It is alive in all cultures and I want to see what she says. Not all whites are racist. Not all cops are bad. Exactly. Okay, we're going to get there. Hold on. Because I agree with you, Blue Flame. Not all people are racist. What I'm doing in a generalization is when I watched Amy Cooper behave the way she did. Now, I want to really typify this for you. And when I say this to you, okay. My connection just went out on my end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to come back in. But what I'm going to say to you is this is what I'm going to share about. I'm going to share about using white privilege as a weapon. And we're going to talk about what weaponization has been going on for a long time. And then we're going to talk about why this George Floyd is one of the worst murders I've seen in a long time. So I'll come back. I'm going to have to go out and come back because it's just not working on my end. Okay, my whole screen froze. I'll be back. Hope that works.